This week in South Florida, Miami Beach will soon get a new mayor. 3 candidates are vying for the job. City Commissioner Michael Gongora, businessman Philip Levine, and entertainer Steve Burke. What would each of them do on the convention center expansion, with the embattled police department, with traffic on South Beach, with city pensions? You'll hear from the Miami Beach mayoral candidates in their first TV debate. Plus, your letters and my personal perspective, the stories people are talking about this week in South Florida. Good morning. Glad you could join us. Our focus this morning is Miami Beach and who will be its next mayor. Miami Beach is a magical place, draws tourists from all over the world, locals too, and taking good care of those visitors is a very big and very profitable business. But Miami Beach is, of course, much more than just South Beach and tourists. It's a community of beautiful residential neighborhoods, some scruffy ones too. In the recent years, Miami Beach has been rocked by corruption scandals at City Hall. Several city workers have been arrested, tried, and sent to prison on various corruption charges. And the police department has seen its reputation suffer as a result of officers with questionable judgment, trigger fingers, and even criminal behavior. And then there are infrastructure problems that need correcting, like storm sewers that back up every time there is a heavy rain. This is a city in need of strong leadership, and in a few weeks, the voters there are going to choose their new mayor. The 3 candidates for the job are with us live in our studio this morning. Philip Levine is running for elected office for the first time. He is a successful businessman with offices on the beach. He is the CEO of Royal Media Partners. Michael Gongora is currently a Miami Beach City Commissioner, first elected to the commission in 2006. Mr. Gongora is a lawyer and a businessman. Steve Burke is a professional entertainer. He ran for Miami Beach mayor 2 years ago, came in second. Mr. Burke is a graduate of Yale University. To all of you, good morning. So glad to have you come in. Let's begin with the obligatory question that I think we need to ask, and that is, why are you the best person to be the next mayor of Miami Beach? Let's just go right down the row. Philip Levine.
Thank you, Mr. Putney, for the opportunity to be here. I started with $500 on Miami Beach about 27 years ago and created some interesting and exciting companies in the cruise ship industry. And I love Miami Beach, and I love the people that live there. I believe we're at a tipping point, and I think that we need leadership, as you just said. And I believe with my experience and my background, that's why I want to run for mayor. I've gone door to door for the last 7 months and knocked on almost 4,000 doors, and I've listened to the residents. What they've told me is, number 1, change the culture, make it more customer service oriented. Number 2, fix what's broken, make things work, whether it's the convention center we need to renovate or whether it's the stormwater issue we have. And number 3, provide a sense of leadership. And that's why I'm doing it. My background is my ability to fix what's broken and make things work. And I'm running a very different type of campaign. We're trying to get special interest out of Miami Beach.
All right, Philip Levine, thank you. And Michael Gongora, give us the same take on why are you the best person to be the next mayor?
Michael, I'm the only qualified candidate to be mayor. I'm the only candidate with the experience in how Miami Beach works that has been there for years, moving the city forward. I've been focused as a commissioner for the past 4 years on providing excellent quality of life for the residents, solid city services, making our city better every step of the way, from bringing in a new city manager to address corruption, from rebuilding the building department to make it better and more user-friendly than ever, and the only candidate that actually has a plan for improving flooding, which is the Stormwater Master Plan. Right. Last, I've also been focused on the fiscal sustainability of Miami Beach. Me, along with the entire commission this year, for the first time in the history of Miami Beach, passed meaningful pension reform that will make Miami Beach fiscally sustainable for the future, and that's why the Miami Herald says I'm the best candidate for mayor.
All right, thank you. And Steve Burke, why are you the next, why should you be the next mayor of Miami Beach?
That's a great question, Michael. Well, unlike my opponents who are very versed in complaining about our city's problems, and they're constantly just talking about the problems, I'm the only one actually offering solutions to these problems. I've identified 5 challenges that our city must overcome by the year 2020, and I'm calling it my 2020 vision. Now, the centerpiece of my 2020 vision is a state-of-the-art integrated transportation system that links Miami to Miami Beach via Skylink. Skylink would be the world's longest urban cable car system, offering spectacular views of the Miami skyline. It'll be environmentally friendly and affordable form of public transportation. So I look forward to sharing my ideas with you
Yeah.
and with the audience.
All right, well, let's begin with your cable car system. It's an aerial tramway. I think that we may have the video available to show you. It's on your website if we don't have it, but who would pay for this?
That's a great question. Now, obviously, this would have to be a public-private partnership, and we'd have to cooperate with the cities of Miami Beach, Miami, the state of Florida, and Miami-Dade County. But I'm glad you're asking me that question, because I actually have
so give me an answer. Who would pay for it?
I'm going to make a major announcement right here on your show.
Let's have it.
I've been in contact with Richard Branson over this weekend, and Richard said that he's interested in funding the project, in entering into a public-private partnership, and buying the naming rights for the Miami Beach Skylink.
All right, so Virgin America Skylink or something like that, who knows? Well, that's interesting. Michael Gongora, a couple of years ago, more than a few years ago, there had been a proposal for a light rail link between the city of Miami and Miami Beach, and a straw vote was held, and I believe that, in fact, it did not pass. But what would you do as mayor to improve egress and ingress to Miami Beach? Because, you know, on a Friday or a Saturday night, trying to go across the MacArthur Causeway and then trying to park on Miami Beach is just a nightmare.
Well, I've already gotten to work on this as a commissioner during my term. I agree that we need a more modern mass transit system. I've been studying systems that work. The system in Sevilla, Spain, which is an electric rail system in a very historic community, older than Miami Beach, has been a big success, unlike the SkyTransit, which has not worked well in the City of London and other cities where it's been tried. My idea is to have a true electric rail system without the overhead cannery wires, which was the big argument with Baylink. And my project will be funded through a joint governmental group working together. In fact, we are already working together. City of Miami Beach is participating currently in a study with City of Miami, Miami-Dade County, and the Metropolitan Planning Organization on implementing this electric rail system. And for the first time ever, these four departments have come together and put up funds, recognizing that we need true public transport that connects our communities. And as mayor, I'm going to get this done.
May I add one thing?
Hold on just a minute, Steve. Mr. Levine, I need you to weigh in here about traffic and some kind of a better transportation system for the beach.
Thank you. Mr. Putney, the first thing I would say is let's do no more harm to our city. And what does that mean? Number one, we almost had a major development on Watson Island, and listening to the residents and listening to the activists, I was instrumental in helping to make sure that Mr. Perez and the related group didn't build something so big that MacArthur Causeway would have been bottlenecked, and thank God that didn't happen. Number two, you know, to say we're going to go build a $1 billion to $2 billion massive convention center without doing an independent traffic study, to me, is another example of putting the cart before the horse. So do no harm first. Now, as far as proactive solutions, we need to look at various things. A rapid bus transit system across our causeway that may be more cost effective in a dedicated lane, or a residence lane across our causeway. Number two, we need more internal buses and potential trams within our city, because it's not just about you know, obviously it's making it easier for people to get around, but economically we need to make sure people in North Beach can get to South Beach and vice versa.
Yeah. All right, and just briefly, Steve Burke, you wanted to add something?
Sure, I wanted to add something because Mr. Gongora talks about connecting the two cities, and he never talked about connecting those two cities until I came out with my Skylink 2020 vision.
Well, campaigns do sometimes have that kind of an effect.
They certainly adopt each other's ideas, but when he claimed that the one in London is not a successful aerial tram system, that couldn't be further from the truth. The one in London was not built for tourists.
Let's keep our focus on Miami Beach, but hold on just a minute, gentlemen. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with the candidates for Miami Beach mayor. Welcome back. Live in our studio this Sunday morning are the three candidates for mayor of Miami Beach, and they are Philip Levine, Michael Gongora, Steve Burke. Let's move on here to sort of tough questions for each of you. The knock on your campaigns. Mr. Levine, your opponents say, and some of your critics say, that you're trying to buy this election. You have had good deal of financial success in business, and you're spending a lot of money on your campaign. Are you trying to buy this office?
No, absolutely not, Mr. Putney. As I said, I've gone door to door, and to say that I'm buying an election is, to some extent, is an insult to the 1,500 residents of Miami Beach that put my name on the ballot. I believe I'm the only mayor
qualified by
petition. I believe that no other person up here is qualified by petition, and I did it myself without paying for anyone.
Yeah. Well, how much money are you spending on your campaign of your own money?
And then, of course, I started with $500, and I'm reinvesting back on Miami Beach because I believe it's necessary. There's two ways you can run. You can take money from all the special interest, the developers of the convention center and things like this, or you can invest yourself. And that's what I'm doing because I do not want to be beholden to all the special interest and all the lobbyists. And thank God I've had my success on Miami Beach, and I'm going to reinvest in Miami Beach. I love the city.
All right. I feel compelled to say that you are entitled by law to spend as much money as you wish to of your own on your campaign, as long as you report the expenditures. Michael Gongora, there are reports that an election communications organization, an ECO, which doesn't have to abide by the very strict election laws of Miami Beach, and Miami Beach has some of the toughest in the state of Florida, that more than $17,000 has been contributed through a kind of a shady network. Your mother has been on the director of this outfit in Las Vegas. Where is this money coming from, and do you have any connection to this ECO?
No, Michael, I don't have any connection to the ECO, so I can't answer your question about the money. But I will point out that my opponent has spent, through September 27th, over $1.2 million of his own money. And who knows how much since then. He recently rented out the Miami Beach Convention Center for a senior gala. I'm sure the cost of that event were close to $100,000. No candidate in the history of Miami Beach has spent this sum of money trying to buy the mayor's seats.
Is there something, what is untoward about this, to spend money that you've earned legally to try to achieve being the mayor?
There certainly is nothing illegal about spending your millions of dollars to try to buy the mayor's seat. I think the question becomes, why is it that nobody is investing in your candidacy, and why do you need to spend millions of dollars to buy the mayor's seat? Mr. Levine has never voted in a municipal election in Miami Beach, although he's certainly contributed tens of thousands of dollars to other candidates.
I want to give Mr. Levine a chance to respond to this.
Right.
Have you voted in city elections?
I have voted in state, I voted in national, I have voted in cities. Now, of course, I wish I had voted more, but I'm making up for it. I'm running for mayor. I'm putting myself out there. But you know what's interesting, Mr. Putney, is that Mr. Gongora, who's receiving money from the developers of the convention center, all the special interests out there, who has a tremendous amount of money he's getting from all these special interests. My money's coming from me, and it's coming from the hundreds of people in Miami Beach that have donated under $100 so they could engage themselves and participate in this election.
All right, Steve Burke, let's get to you here.
Sure. Mr. Levine's claiming he's not taking money from special interest groups, but that's because Mr. Levine is his own special interest group. Him and his partners made over $8 million off of one city contract. So why should the residents of Miami Beach trust him with the keys to all the city contracts? He's not taking any money from the residents because he already has their money.
Can I respond also? Because there was a mistruth. I have not taken any money from any of the developers associated with the convention center. That would be illegal, and Mr. Levine knows it. I don't know why he's lying about this. The money that I have raised from the hardworking residents of Miami Beach and small mom-and-pop businesses is about $250,000 to try to compete with his millions of dollars of investment into his own campaign.
All right, Mr. Burke, I got it. Hold on just a minute. Mr. Burke, you are a professional entertainer. I mean, You've got a degree from Yale University, and that's great. But you are now engaged in making a documentary, which I guess you want to sell to some outlet like MTV, a documentary about your campaign for mayor.
Sure.
Is that why you are running for mayor? Is
No,
making a documentary?
it's not why I'm running for mayor, but I think making a documentary is a very important part of this process because the public deserves to know when we have two politicians who have these shadowy organizations, these ECOs and these PACs, and they're going to claim that they're not affiliated with them, they're flat out lying to your face. Both of my opponents are liars. If Michael Gongora is going to claim that he's not affiliated with the PAC that his mother is in charge of, and Mr. Levine is claiming that he's not the one spending hundreds of thousands of dollars attacking each other.
Just, you know, liar is a very strong word.
Sure.
Do you have evidence that you can provide to us?
I mean, his mother is in charge of the ECO. If you're going to claim that you don't talk to your mother and coordinate with your mother...
Let me give you a chance here. Briefly respond, please.
Yes, Michael, that's not true. What they have found is that my mother briefly last year served as a registered agent of an organization called the Women's Leadership Conference based out of Carson City, Nevada. For people that know law, a registered agent is not an officer, director, or control an organization. The ECO that is pointing out issues with regard to Mr. Levine is some other ECO called Citizens for Fiscal Responsibility. Yeah. I know they're trying to connect some kind of dots to create a conspiracy theory, but I think it's really low when candidates
claim that neither one of you,
mother.
If you're going to claim that neither one of you have any idea about the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're spending attacking each other, that's unbelievable.
In about 10 seconds is all we have left here, Phil.
Real quickly, Mr. Putney, I've invested in my campaign. We have all the resources we need, plus we have the residents investing. We don't need a third party to compare myself with my opponent. We do it ourselves. So it's kind of funny because they're claiming we buy the election, and at the same time they're saying someone else is buying it for us.
All right. Wish we had more time. That is it for this morning. Gentlemen, thanks for coming in. We will be out on the campaign trail with you in the next 3 weeks. All right. Up next, we will open the mail. And now for the mail, we are hearing from a lot of you about the government slowdown and raising the debt ceiling. Sandra Whalen wrote to say, if I keep having the credit limit on my credit card raised and then charge up to the max, then have it raised again, and again, I think that does increase spending in the long run. We need to get control of our debt now. That will be hard with all you media types falling for the Democratic talking points. We got this email from Richard McVeigh about Governor Rick Scott and Obamacare. Scott is now obstructing the ACA and further working to the detriment of Floridians. This man represents the iconic vulture capitalist. Goodness. All right, still to come, my personal perspective about the impact of the government shutdown on South Florida. Our 2 national parks are closed, but parks in 5 other states are open. Why is that? A personal perspective about political grandstanding and the government shutdown. Everglades National Park has been closed now for the last 11 days, a casualty of the shutdown. Thousands of park visitors have been turned away and a couple of hundred fishing guides have been left without customers, along with the hotels and restaurants nearby that cater to those visitors. The Columbus Day Regatta and Party is underway, but Biscayne National Park is supposed to be off limits. The boaters who are out on the water are finding other places to gather, but not in the park. While our national parks are closed, the parks in 5 other states are open today because governors in those states deem them so important they're paying the park rangers to work. Now, that could have happened in Florida, but Governor Rick Scott is so determined to blame President Obama for the shutdown that he ordered no state money be spent to pick up federal responsibilities. The governor's spokesman said, quote, "It is the federal government's obligations to reopen and cancel restrictions on Florida's natural treasures, and Florida taxpayers will not foot the bill to cover Washington's failure to negotiate and compromise." Well, spokesman's right about one thing. It is Washington's responsibility to run the national parks. But a better politician would have seen the upside of spending a few $1,000s to open our parks on a holiday weekend. They have done this in Arizona and Utah, where they have conservative Republican governors, but not Rick Scott. He could have said something like, hey, look, Washington should be paying, but we're going to pick up the bill because we love our parks, we love our visitors and our residents, and the park should be available on a holiday weekend. Scott would have looked pretty darn good saying that, wouldn't he? Instead, he looks petty and vindictive. Who is advising the governor these days? That's my perspective for this week. Have a great holiday weekend. Remember, as always, stay informed, get involved. I'm Michael Putney.